Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL officially unofficial cast. My name is still Alex, I go by otherwise known as Lexi. Must1 is what I go by on the internet. Of course, I am joined by the illustrious, the impeccable, the impressive tented Hapgood brothers, Initialize and Nymera. As always, as I say, please introduce yourselves.
I'm not even sure if these are even words now.
Yeah, it's because we're back together. We spent yesterday apart not casting.
You've been going delirious,
this has brought us back together, and our powers combined are truly pretty extraordinary.
More power.
We're like the Voltron of casters.
Okay.
Which is unfortunately not an anime.
So wait, am I like that? Where am I in the body? Because I'm part of the Voltron.
So, I will say this right now. I know nothing about Voltron.
Oh,
I only know that it's about connecting things into a super.
Well, now
That's
I'm really disappointed, and I'm not going to make you bury yourself, because I think I'm kind like that. I'm not going to...
Maybe I should have said Gundam or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could be like, you're like the sword. I'd be like, that sounds cool, and we forget about it after that. Because, let's be real, CGA aren't looking what they used to look like, and Sengoku are now looking how CGA used to look. It's such a wild ride that's going on over here in the LJL.
Everyone wants to forget about the references I just made, and then also CGA want to forget about that last game,
Yes.
because it kind of sucked for them. To be honest, I don't think CGA played awfully. It's just...
I think they lost in Champ Select. I think
it's a little bit weird. I think that Aria on the Echo played pretty well. It's another unique champion.
yeah.
After all the champions have been said and done, he ended the game deathless. I think Yoshi on Trundle impacted top lane pretty well. Ended up being a pretty decent front line throughout the game on the Trundle, which we hadn't said about in his previous games.
True.
Gango got really preyed upon on the center. He got blown up a lot. And even then, I don't think Gango played awfully. Maybe it was a champion select thing. But also, you just don't expect Sengoku to come flying out the gates like that.
Yeah.
So, and they're going to have to play... Well, they want to have to pick up a win in this next game against the struggling Hawks.
And it's also like, in that last game as well, it was like there was that kind of pivotal key highlight moment when the Ocean Soul was picked up.
Oh, yeah.
Which was just huge. The fact that what was not even was the Drake stacking. And that really neutered Crest Gaming Act, right? And if that had been a steal, if that had put the game timer back another 5 minutes, if they picked up another one after that, suddenly CJ look a lot stronger. Senna scales so damn well. You've got options with the Echo in a side lane, so that was kind of that moment when like the game was truly sealed away from them.
But from an overhead sense, if you're trying to distill the game down into like a 50-50 smite, you probably don't deserve to win that game anyway.
No.
So,
no. But that's what that was the price they paid for not having been able to get the early Drakes.
Yeah, and I do genuinely just think that was a hard game for Gango against the Ezreal and the LeBlanc. They could just get on top of him so easy.
So coming into this game versus the Hawks, both of them are currently sitting on 4 and 5. Obviously, this is the fight to not go into last place for tied for with 4 teams. This is the fight to stay above water. You don't want to fall into the danger zone, which I think that is what we have to call it moving forward. That is the true danger zone. Making them Archer references, because
phrasing.
It's where we're at. It's where we're at. Coming into this matchup, though, where do we think is going to be the most important part of the map? Is it going to be the duos, either top duo or mid duo? Is it going to be the full bot duo of Gango and Grendel versus Honey and Pooh? I'm not too sure where it might be decided.
When we talk about the Hawks, we do often talk about them winning the mid 2v2 if they win a game. So I think, as much as I'd like to go, oh, I'm going to talk differently, no, it is pretty much going to be the mid 2v2 again. Yeah, Aria still looked pretty confident last game.
Sure.
It didn't end up winning them the game versus Sengoku because Yutomiyashi kind of ended up popping off. I don't think Honey is going to have that same level of performance, nor is the team really suited to support Honey in that same regard. Sure. But if Aria is playing confident and can put Ramone under the cosh, I think that could end up sealing this game for CGA.
And also, Yoshi versus Tussle, I would call a bit of a mismatch in Tussle's favor. Yes, Yoshi had a better game last time, so maybe actually it won't be as bad as we were fearing, and see whether the week's prep has done him some good. On the other hand, that could be something that the Hawks try to exploit.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Let us go over to Champ Select and really get into the 8th and final game for week 5. CGA versus the Hawks. 1, 2, 3. Good luck to both these teams.
Freaks
He threw me. He went the other way
yeah.
around. I don't know what to do about that.
Count up.
I know.
Mix it
I'm
up.
so scared.
Shave it
Either
up.
way, whether scared or not, we are into champion select. So enough of this. Crest Gaming Act are on the blue side, and they have Nap, Yoshi, Arya, Gango, and Grendel on their roster.
And on the red side, my first time casting them for week 5 is the Hawks Gaming. Dasher in the top lane, Tussle in the jungle, Rabanne in the mid lane, Honey in bot, and Pooh as support.
Yeah, and we're looking at, unsurprisingly, actually, CGA returning the bans that they threw at Sengoku Gaming. That's the Rumble and a Yumi off the table.
Okay.
Ornn and Nap's infamous Cho'Gath off the board by the Hawks.
I guess they want a good matchup for Dasher. We have seen him go towards the like of Aurelia before into weak matchup, well, strong matchups for the Aurelia. Try and take over that side lane into the mid game, and it's the same bans from CGA from Sengoku, as you're saying, the Olaf rounding out their round 1 bans.
Yeah, and Dasher last time was playing a Camille as well earlier today. He looked pretty good on it. It wasn't enough because every time he tried to find a 1v1, it wasn't a 1v1, it was a 1v3 with Echo and Nocturne coming flying in from various angles. Draven ban versus Gango, first round. Honey just slightly terrified. That sounds like scrim results to me.
It's all well. Gango is a famous Draven. Don't get me wrong, and he's played it the one time as well. Honey gonna get his hands on the Aphelios. Does have some playmaking potential. These were the 280 carries that were the S tier coming into this split way back on patch. Was it 10.2, 10.3, something like that? So Gango will be able to go back into that farm style in the bot lane, and as you're saying, Tussle picking up the Trundle.
Indeed, and that's a takeaway from Yoshi as well, who has been defaulting to that. It's the champion he's felt most comfortable on. It's hard to pick off. Set and Tom Kench picked up for CGA. Of course, that'll be the Tom Kench sort of funnel almost in the bot lane, or at least farm.
Oh, so weird to think about.
I know.
Funneling a Tom Kench.
But we've seen it work to some success in other regions, like a Tom Kench being even more tanking, actually acting as a second front line alongside that set could be quite strong. Rabanne, however, locking in this Vladimir for the side of the Hawks could go in a number of places yet.
I think it's pretty good versus the set in lane because you can just, pull out some of the harder trades, transfuse yourself up to get a little bit more healthy. It does mean that they're looking towards mid and late game pressure. This doesn't exactly get them onto the early front foot. We're coming into the second round of bans now. The Zoe blind pick taken away from Arya. Probably going to be the LeBlanc taken away as well, I'd imagine. That's the other kind of blind pickable mid laner, and both those do pretty well as the Vladimir does. Actually Arya taken away. The LeBlanc from Rabanne, who is obviously another notable LeBlanc player. I think Arya and Rabanne probably are 2 best LeBlanc players. Upside along, actually, Gadiadu is pretty good as well, thinking about it.
Yeah, and just a bit of context, guys. Both these teams now at 4 and 5 after the games have played out. That means this game could be absolutely monumental when it comes to getting into playoffs or not at this point. It's very close as this race. One of those teams will go to 5 wins. One of them will be stuck down at 4 wins. So both teams really desperate to pick up this win. Echo taken off the board. Arya did just have a fairly good game on that champion.
Well, including this game, these teams only have 5 games left to play.
Yep.
Every team has 4 games left to play with 2 weeks remaining. So there's going to be a tight finish. It might even be like one of those finish line photo shots.
It could really be that. Pooh picks up the Nautilus and takes that away from... I was about to say takes that away from Grendel, who's been defaulting to it so much, but he's already on the Tom Kench.
They want to get themselves the counter pick in the mid lane. Yes. After so many blind pickable mid laners have been taken off the table. So CGA going to be left with presumably their mid and jungle left to pick.
Yoshi going towards a Jarvan, which is a lot of sort of team fight presence. Works quite well with the Senna as well. See how Yoshi performs on that. Could be kind of punished for some bad engages, but we'll find out. Actually, I feel that's unfair. We've yet to see... I don't think we've seen Yoshi on that champion yet, so maybe take that statement back. See where the last pick will be. I wonder what they're going to get up for Arya. The Silas was banned last game. Thinking about it, and there are a couple very strong ultimates to take with a Nautilus depth charge, a Vladimir Hema Plague, a Moonlight Vigil even. That's some pretty good stuff.
Subjugate's not awful either, you know, with the amount of penetration on, well, the amount of stolen resists that you get from it. It does mean that you can tear through tanks a little bit more easily.
Locking in a Cassiopeia.
Okay, so this has normally been the Seros special, actually. He's been going to that pick quite a bit. Gives you a lot of scaling in the mid lane. Also has a pretty strong laning phase as well. Silas can get on top of that pick if you dodge out on the miasma. But so an interesting mid lane matchup.
Yeah, and of course that's another fairly good ultimate for Silas to steal. And when he can apprehend his way into very close range to throw out that petrifying gaze can be pretty scary.
So the difference between this game and the last game for the side of CGA is that Gango is going to have a lot easier time staying alive in team fights. There's no LeBlanc diving onto his face, no Ezreal with the insane long range of the Mystic Shot available at all times. I mean, you can engage with the Nautilus and the Aphelios, but I think that the Tahm Kench has a much easier time choosing which skill shots he wants to get Gango out of in this game. So I'm looking towards Gango to have a better game this time around, just from the draft.
Yeah, and keep your eyes on Dasher. It's a Vladimir. Vladimir flanks the Teemo Plague are forever a terror in team fights, and that'll be the one thing I think that Gango's going to be particularly nervous about. It'll be the one thing which Grendel will be keeping his catfish eyes peeled for, to see whether he can save his carry from the nuke that will be the Hema Plague.
One thing I am worried about for the Hawks is that they only have flashes to get out of Cataclysm.
Yes.
That's one thing we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Even if Flag goes into pool, he'll be stuck inside the Cataclysm, maybe popping out of that pool to his own demise at the end of that channel time. So there's tools on both sides to tear up in this game. We have three very carries from the side of the Hawks in Cassiopeia, Vladimir, and Aphelios too. So, if they do get up to 3 items, 2-3 items, they can maybe try and look to 1v5 these team fights, depending on the setup, as long as they go into them relatively even.
So you heard it there from the Colorcaster. Keep your eyes on Yoshi. Whether he can find good Flag and Drags, good Cataclysms, could be very instrumental into taking down the Hawks. On the other side, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is the LJL officially unofficials game of the week. The official channel went for, I believe this is the one, I think. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was Burning Core V. Oh yeah. Burning Core V3. I want to say. He says. I should remember this. I only cast it just yesterday. Wow. It was the first game we cast yesterday. There we go, Sengoku DFM.
I was about to say that. It ended up, I mean, you can say it in retrospect, right? Because it was the upset and Sengoku came into it super strong. But coming into this week, even though Sengoku had a 2-0, we weren't the most convinced with them. So we held fire on it a little bit. However, I think this game was one that we were looking very much forward to. Both of these teams now kind of on the downswing, though, taking a couple of losses in the last couple of weeks. But one of these teams will end up in 3rd place, and that will be something to hang on to going into the last 2 days of play, let's be honest. They're not 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And one after the other.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we want to kind of throw a bit of focus on this game. It could be so big for standings, both of these teams looking to kind of rebound as well. So do stick with us on this game. It's going to be pretty important. Some early trades already out in the bot lane, but of course, Aphelios starts with that red gun. The Severum just heals back any poke he takes at this point, really.
He can do to a certain extent, but only if he has access to the wave while he's also not getting it as well. There is the tongue lashes and the piercing darkness coming out of Senna to just poke at there. As we see, down to half HP already. Gango doing a good job of putting on the hurt at level 1.
Yeah, already making me eat my words. Gango throwing out a lot of those piercing shadows and doing a lot of work with it. Phase rush for the Vladimir.
So that's more common on Vladimir nowadays. We saw Clapto last year, but that rune's been removed. It does give you some kiting potential away from these melee matchups. So if Jarvan does get onto him or the set as well, just kind of pop out your QE auto or the pool as well. It does mean that you have that extra runaway potential.
Yes.
Oh, Silas too as well.
Oh, Silas, yes, indeed.
All of these champions, really.
All of these things. I'm not surprised to see Silas with a conqueror of all things, like he who likes to use his empowered autos, but Yoshi is here, but on a ward, level 3 hit very early on. Trundle heading towards the top side. I kind of imagine the Hawks don't have the easiest gank lanes outside of the bot until level 6 at least.
So Tussle will effectively be trying to counter gank.
Yes.
That's what we're going to be seeing there, because Adia, as long as you can put the miasma down, like that does give you some ability to trade pretty heavily. Yeah. Adia trading pretty well on the Silas there. One of the faster Conqueror stackers in the game, because auto attacks give you 2 stacks, empowered auto attacks give you 4. He has his passive on him at pretty much all times, so being able to stack up in 2 autos and an ability is really, really quick for this Silas.
Yeah. And of course, the Twitter poll is pretty big there. 66% of people favoring the Hawks. That'll be a bit of star power in the side of Ramune and Tussle, bringing back the Japanese viewers to their side.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's always nice to have the fans on your side. Can give you a bit of that mental boost coming into these high-pressure situations. But on the other side, who doesn't love an underdog?
Indeed, and it's in fact it's weird calling Crest Gaming the underdogs when we saw
I
wouldn't.
Well, exactly, Twitter would. I wouldn't.
Calling the all stars of people like Arya and Gango looking really, really good. As Pooh wanders forward and gets poked out for his trouble.
That being said, we're talking about underdogs and whatever. I think SCGA had a bit of a rough game just before this, but there were some good takeaways for them. The Hawks have had a nasty couple of weeks, so they've not really managed to make they've not had a particularly good win-loss record coming into it.
And guess where the junglers are, all around mid again. Yoshi's off vision, Tussle is not, and that means that they're just gonna walk away.
But Aria is out of corrupting stacks, is down 15 CS in the mid lane already, even though we saw that good trade on screen. Ramune really putting the hurt onto the Sylas.
Yeah, and like Aria does have a teleport, hasn't used it yet, and I feel like feels like it's been the story for a lot of Sylas's over the last sort of few weeks and months since his pretty significant changes, I guess. Like we've not seen him win lane as much as he kind of used to, I feel.
Yeah, you see Aria just that meme of Wolverine sat on the bed with the
going in, but he's going into the turtle pillar. Oh, he's got the healing from the Kingslayer, but he's gonna burn down for first blood. Oh, Aria, buddy. Thought he had the turnaround, and that was not a turnaround, that was just a donation.
And Aria is that meme of Wolverine sat on the bed just looking at the picture of Sylas patch 9.5 or whatever it was. Sat there just bring back my old Sylas as he goes down for first blood in the mid lane. Caught out by Tussle, good counter gank.
Let's just look at the replay. I wanted to see wait for the moment when he goes, I can't take it anymore, take me back. Wait for it.
And if you pause it, if you pause it just at that second, if you watch it in slow motion, you can watch the moment where his heart breaks. It's gone. He's just left to die there. Caught out by the challenging smite built up early by Tussle and the poison ticking down from the Cassiopeia as well.
Yep.
And he flashed away to die as well. So, it makes him feel even worse. And the wave's pushing in against him while he's already at a CS deficit, so it's not really getting any better for him here.
Indeed. He's been spamming that video, the new Warriors one, the one from the beginning of the split. He's been looking at it going, this is what Sylas is. I understand this champion now. Goes in thinking he's got this cinematic moment.
The one where he gets 1v3'd and dies?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Nice.
He went, it was the Leroy Jenkins instead.
That's what we love here.
Yeah. Honey takes a bit of a route there, but levels up for a heal, actually, so that's quite good timing.
That's pretty nice. We actually see that CGA have got themselves a decent CS lead between both of their carries against the bot lane of the Hawks as well. 50 CS on the Tahm Kench, going to be a pretty fat frog. Or catfish, as he actually is in the bot lane there. Can go.
Getting Showstopper and the teleport coming in, but Dasher is here as well. Smite for the health, and I suspect a little bit of move speed if he's running stuff. So he's kind of out. Was a bit scared about Genko coming in and throwing down a last embrace.
Maybe if he gets caught with a W, he's in a little bit of threat there. I think the flash is okay, all things said and done. Looks a little bit suspect because actually I didn't track who was teleporting in there. Obviously, Adia, no teleport available to him, so it had to be by process elimination the Senna from the bot lane, who will actually teleport up to the top lane, then take the long walk right back down to the bot lane.
That's a bit sad, but it doesn't matter, of course, because Grundle's
not the carry
the farm, so it's fine. And Yoshi did manage to go in and force Tussle away from his red buffs. That was picked up there. But it's now a 2v2 fight. The Crescendum turret goes down, and Honey is quite happy to take that trade. Severum Crescendum is a lot of damage.
Also worth noting that it is the Conqueror on the Aphelios. We see Conqueror coming out from a couple of ADCs. We saw it taken on the Ezreal last game, not the lethal tempo on that particular champion. And so the Conqueror will let Honey cut through the Tahm Kench, the Jarvan, and the Set pretty easily if he does get a chance to wail on them, particularly with the onslaught of the Severum, like you were saying.
Yeah, and we can go in time we go, and this time Honey has got all that close range weaponry until the Calibrum comes out just now. Remember, level 6 is available for the side of Honey, who throws out a lot of damage with those chakrams.
So that's why the Devour is so important to people like the Nautilus. It allows you to reset the fight. But, oh man, the Crescendum Calibrum combo is so nasty. It gives you effectively that auto attack reset, and then the chakrams come in alongside it. It's so much damage in these extended trades.
Yeah, and you gotta be careful because Pooh's looking for a hook, and Honey has got the ult. Look for that Moonlight Vigil, not used. Ooh, thought about it, but there's the Dawning Shadow. and finally throws down that Moonlight Vigil, but not to much success. I didn't get the auto reset off.
But about to say that wasn't the most amount of damage from that ultimate there.
I get
Doran's
blade. That's all he's got. Like there is no damage in his inventory.
It's like there is no war in Basing Say. There is no damage on Aphelios.
There is a Dharma now, and that's a flash out from Honey who gets away, and the depth charge in anti-gun gets turned, but the Dawning Shadow. The Dawning Shadow is there, and that means it's going to get turned around again. No, which that thick skin does save him.
Repeat after me. There is no war in Basing Say. There is no damage on Aphelios.
There is damage on a troll.
And the Cassiopeia working the way down here, though.
Yeah, we're trying desperately to make war break out, but currently the war in Ba Sing Se is still a secret. Still nobody died in that lane.
I wonder if there's a record for the amount of times that Ba Sing Se has been said in one cast. I don't imagine it's been said
We're
going to
make it.
So we have made it already. Congratulations, a new world record for some random terminology being used in one cast of League of Legends.
Who do you think is the avatar? We've not got an Elementalist Lux in there, because that would be Kiana. Yeah, that's really good. That's really true.
Kiana. That's pretty much it, right?
Do you know how long? Because I was really irritated for a long time that the Ixtal blade only had the 3 elements. It had fire.
Maybe the fourth was stolen. Maybe the fourth was stolen by Talia.
But that's because I realized that where wind is. It's in the ultimate. You read the description. It's a massive gust of wind that throws you in there. So I hadn't realized, but she does have that last element. It took me a long time. I was so irritated for the longest time, and I realized I was wrong.
Hey, Lexi, can we retitle the stream as Educational League of Legends? Can we do that?
Educational League of Legends. Educating how to int on Silas in the most spectacular fashion. Aria,
I need
hasn't
to
dropped any more
CS at least. I need to get a replay of that with the sad Titanic. My flute, my heart will go on, but with the really bad flute version. Yeah, just as he absconded ducks right into the middle.
I appreciate how your voice actually really matched the bad flute there as well. That was nice.
Wow, that's a compliment. I'm
it is a compliment. Like it was a shady compliment, but it was a compliment.
A shaded reality compliment.
It was.
As your other username.
You've outed me. You've outed my other one. I can't use that one on cast because if I use it on cast, I cut myself on the edge. Exactly. Yeah, so there are reasons behind the name, but all of them are dark and edgy and from my brutal teenage past, which I clearly have as a backstory.
Do you have an email that you made at 14 years
old? I don't.
Which is like shaded XX reality?
No, I never did that to myself.
I'm
really disappointed. My email is actually very normal.
Oh, damn. Which we won't dox you on.
I do remember your old Facebook profile pictures though. So there's a lot of shade that could be thrown at yet.
I think the worst thing about casting with your brother is the amount of random crap we can use.
Oh yeah, there's so much weaponry. Much like the Piercing Shadow there is as edgy as my dark past.
There's so much weaponry. Talks about Senna and not Aphelios.
I know. I realized it was actually the Aphelios that took the damage, and I had to sort of change tack quite quickly there. I mean, there's kind of cool fantasy weaponry there for Gango. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Giant shadow light gun. That's kind of cool.
Good. No, I really like what they've done with the imagery around Senna. I think it's
big time.
Just thematically, I really like the champion as much as
her reveal as well was so cool.
Yeah, the reveal was really cool, and it's also a story which has been 4 or 5 years in the making, 6 even. Lucian was the season 3-4 champion.
Yeah, 3 I think.
Something like that. So it's been a long time coming, bringing Senna back into the picture. Thresh also been around for such a long time too, tying into that. Herald been around for a little bit.
Gets picked. He was going to get blown up. He thought he was safe, but he really wasn't. And walked over a wall to get into that bush. That means the Herald is going to be picked up by the side of the Hawks.
Tower shots.
And that is tower shots onto Raman, who has to burn the Petrifying Gauge, but it didn't get turned around. And Arya has his own version of that spell now. Turret plates on this bot side nearly taken out by CGA, though, so it will in the end be a gold trade around that turret for the use of the Herald and the kill onto Yoshi. Herald summoned up the top side, though, looking to try and get this first tower if they can.
Rip Yoshi, 0 minutes to 12 minutes in this game. Does go down for the second kill of the game for the Hawks, and this tower will be going down pretty shortly as well. But they did... Oh, the Hemoplate
trying to clear the wave out.
The wave there.
And he gets healing. Yeah, he's going to use it. Yes, it is going to get out, and that means that this turret may well survive yet, and that race for first turret is still on. And Crescendo means that Aphelios isn't likely to lose it.
But the thing is, when you start attacking a tower with 3 people, the resists do go up because of the amount of champions around that turret. The Herald does a true damage charge, but they used that before a lot of the plates had been taken down, potentially slowing down their tower push. Will be the first tower anyway, doesn't end up resulting in much. But if you go and watch the LEC had a piece on it about how you do a perfect tower take. With the Herald, you take 2.5 plates, and then you put the Herald down, and that will instantly kill the turret with the least amount of resists, and therefore the least amount of time taken to take down that structure.
Yeah, hear ye, hear ye. This is the content plug for that one, alongside things like our podcast, which is important. But we have not plugged that yet.
Very true.
How have we done?
And we've only got 2 games today, so we were running out of time to plug.
So I've done it.
Podcast.
Like probably the jankiest plug we've done for the podcast, but it's done now.
Okay.
So
well, I'll maybe we can maybe we can track that at some point. The jankiest podcast.
Jankiest podcast. Can we do an award for that?
Maybe that can be in our end of split. Maybe it can be like the LJL officially unofficial awards.
We've got to start thinking about awards. Actually, we're getting quite close to the end of the split, so we've got to start thinking about them. Like,
and speaking of awards, I think that, I mean, one of the people that will be in contention for that in a more serious note is Adir in the mid lane. He has been, even in their losing games, been so very consistent. It's hard to look good on a team that's falling apart in some of their games. Gango teleporting in, though, will cancel that thought.
And Honey's in a bit of trouble, but he's going to be teleporting the 2 of them here into this Nautilus, who's now had to flash away and going to get pulled back and showstopper to death. Arya's the one who actually picks up Honey now in trouble.
Oh, Inferno!
Huge Cataclysm, huge Inferno there as well. And Ramone is here, has got all the damage, and that slow from the Petrifying Gauge was pretty huge. But look at the Dawning Shadow in return, and suddenly Grendel's flashing forward, trying to get these tongue slaps down, and Arya still going forwards. Gango picks up that kill as well. I believe that was a 3 for none. Dasher didn't turn up because he had no teleport.
If this was my solo queue, you'd have Ramone typing in chat, report top, because he's just splitting on the other side of the map there. Obviously, no way to get to the fight. Ramone had a good turnaround. It ends up being a kill or 2 or 3 going the way of CGA, though, after the early slew of kills had largely been going the way of the Hawks. So it's 3 kills and an Infernal Drake over to the side of CGA.
What's a kill or 2 between friends?
What's a kill or 2 between friends? No friends here on this rift, though, unfortunately. The Dawning Shadow lands... Not Dawning Shadow, the Last Embrace lands onto the Nautilus. Nap using his corpse as a taxi to get on top of Honey there, who has a great turnaround with the Infernum, the ult and the Q coming out there. At that point, I was wondering if Ramone could clean up a couple of kills, but Arya being able to sustain through with the Conqueror and the Kingslayer, and it's a bit of a turn... chase down onto the Snake there at the end of the fight. Good... all things going the way of CGA.
Imagine if at the end of that fight you'd had a Vladimir TP coming in for all those low health members. It could have been so different.
But that's the nature of tracking teleports and fighting 4v5s. It could have ended up being quite a good fight for the Hawks, but all the damage ended up being split across various members of CGA. Nothing really being piled onto the same member. A lot of people surviving that.
What happened here then? So while that other replay was on, we always had another kill. So that's an apprehend onto Dash, who's just going to get blown up, isn't he? Yeah. Oh my days. Arya is a monster.
Yep. Kingslayer comes back before the heal. From the Hemoplague comes in. Arya flexing his muscles on this Silas. We've seen the good, the bad, and a few ugly plays coming out of Arya this game. This time, though, gets the better of Dasher in these regen brawlers of AP mages.
Yeah, Silas says, look at me, I'm the side lane healing champion now, and deletes the Vladimir, who thought he was safe.
Absolutely does. Interesting thing there, Gango could have taken the cannon there on Senna, decides to give it to Grendel instead on the Tom Kench, maybe just trying to go for the souls instead of the farm. Only sat on 26 CS on the Senna, very low amounts, but you know, as we said, it's the souls you're looking for on the Senna, which give you a lot of that gold value, instead of going for the CS itself.
And it is a triple sweeper setup. That might be a quad sweeper setup, actually, alongside the Umbral Blade.
We saw this last game from CGA as well.
Massive vision denial, but this time, of course, they are on the front foot, which means that they can get in and be a bit more aggressive about contesting that vision. Yoshi, not on vision yet, but the moment he leaves this bush, he will be. Did poke out there, I believe, so yes.
Yes, but one of those 4 sweepers comes in very handy right there.
Yep.
Arya dashing forward to kill down that ward, recalling for his next buy as well, just resetting. No dragon on the bot side of the map, no, so no objectives until this next Herald coming up. That will be coming up in the next minute. Only a minute or 2 for it to spawn until the Baron comes up, though.
Yeah, so I wonder whether we'll see a contest, and when we do, we've seen that gold difference shift around. Looking around, that set's actually got a fairly significant lead over the Vladimir, and look, though, to the, I was going to say the mid lane, but actually it's been relatively even there as well.
You know what is actually quite interesting here? Last game we saw that, there was a 5,000 gold lead between Gango and Yutorimashi on the Ezreal. This time, actually, the center is relative parity with the Aphelios here. Pooh and Gango not really too dissimilar in terms of their total gold amounts.
Yeah, it's 1,000 odd gold lead for Tussle some way somehow, though. I guess that's just the kill he's gotten. Actually, he is 20 odd CS up over this Jarvan.
He's been farming pretty efficiently.
I do think the Cataclysm's innate utility versus this team probably earns him a lot there. Arya going to pick up another turret for himself, and this Herald is spawned, and Yoshi is on it already.
Okay, right. So I think it's worth checking in on the items as the
see, we're on nice synergy. Well done.
So we see the herald being taken over here, and
that was way more condescending than I intended. That was the well done. Who's a good color
wow.
caster?
Oh, I did the thing. I'm thinking about the state of the game.
Yeah.
Hooray! And there were cheers, and everyone was very, very happy. So we see a Triforce coming in.
Clapped.
Everyone clapped, yes. And do you know who that set was? Albert Einstein.
He
has a Triforce in the top lane there, does Nap.
Could you imagine the
There's
Albert Einsteins of Vesteinstein?
Albert Vesteinstein?
Vesteinstein.
Does that work? Okay, right.
Well, we can't check in on the state of the game because there's a Rift Herald summon. I'm sorry.
We memed too
we
much.
were memeing too much, too hard, and the Vladimir's here and looking for an engage. It's
Stopwatch is a fun item.
Be good. Yeah, it is. The Hemoplague hasn't been dropped yet though, and the Herald is still randomly attacking that tower. I don't think it's going to be pushed. Now the Hemoplague is down, and that is it's a big one from Arya actually who'd stolen that. And the Showstopper is huge in the backline. Root now onto Ramada who goes down. Pooh's about to follow. You feel the Hemoplague in return from Dasha now. Arya is trying to, but Arya once again finds a fantastic pick. Honey trying to stay alive, but he's not going to be able to because the piercing shadow is huge. So is the face breaker, and this is
Dasha?
a CGA playing his best. Dasha trying to turn this one.
Dasha!
Does get a fair amount of damage. It's a double for this Vladimir. It's going to be a triple for him.
Oh baby, a triple comes in for the Vladimir on Dasha. Huge plays being traded across the board. It's a 3-for-3 at the end of that. Dragon spawning at the end of it. The junglers are both up from both teams though, so I think we'll see that moved away from actually maybe Dasha on this regen. Vladimir might be able to tank it up and do enough damage to secure them their second dragon of the game for the Hawks. That was a crazy back and forth fight.
It was. I thought Arya had it because he flashed over the wall, got that great kill.
And maybe it was due to those items which we didn't manage to round out.
Maybe.
I think that Nap had a really fun start to the fight there on the set, but just the continued damage from Dasha and also Honey getting that turret down, getting a lot of damage onto Gango and Grundle towards the end of that fight came out pretty huge. Right, where do we start with this? Herald summoned, good posturing here. Hook lands onto Grundle from Pooh, but as we said, Stopwatch is a fun item, buys a lot of time for Grundle there on Tom Kench. Also very tanky, taking up a lot of that gold. Arya takes the Hemoplague for this fight, gets on top of Dasha pretty early, but doesn't get enough damage to really set the fight up in their favor. At this point, Honey's still full HP, has the Crescendum, has the Severum, gets a massive Crescendum ult here, and then the Chakrams start flying in. Arya flashes in to finish off the Nautilus, but then that's kind of not the priority target. Even though Gango gets some good damage here, the turret's already down, wailing on the bot lane. Yoshi and Nap take turns tanking up the turret, and Dasha comes in for the huge AoE finish on the Vladimir, and then it's all she wrote. Pillar comes in to finish off Gango there, and I need to stop talking for a bit, because that's a lot of breath used on one replay.
Indeed. Tower is MVP, and lots of randomness went on. I was so confused. I thought it was Dash who threw down the Hemoplague. No, it wasn't. It was bloody Silas and his stealing of that. Hijacks, Hemoplagues are going to be pretty powerful. Great start fight from CGA.
Yes.
Good turnaround with the tower for the Vladimir, who is now back to parity with this set, and of course does scale very well. I suspect Arya and this Vladimir will be a significantly closer matchup this time around. But incoming, the Gravitum ult there was attempted, but good back away using the Black Mist. That speed up is pretty powerful. Yoshi looking for a flank, and Hawks back away. Arya is on a wall, but has no flash as well, so would have to. Would it be an apprehend over the wall? Abscond and apprehend, apprehend and abscond. I forget which way around.
Abscond abduct, isn't it?
Abscond abduct. What's yours apprehend? Is there an apprehend?
Have
I just got that wrong? That's Darius.
That's Darius,
I tell you why I've been thinking about it. It's because of Ray Farkey. That's what I'm thinking about apprehend.
The one pro player that actually plays Darius happens to be in our league and confuse you with your terminology. That's something.
Yeah, so that's like, why am I thinking apprehend? That's why. So yes, no, it is abscond and abduct. So I apologize for my slight misreading there. I was just doing that on autopilot, I think, a little bit, going, wait, no.
Also on autopilot is this AFK split push in the bot lane from Dasha. Built himself up to a Protobelt, a Spellbinder, and a Fiendish Codex. Probably cap himself out at 40% CDR alongside the runes that he will have, getting him 20% thereabouts on the Vladimir.
Yep, which is not Darius, which I can be grateful for. I'm haunted by the amount of Darius play in this league. As Pooh and Tussle,
both those champions have bleeds involved.
Yeah, they
one
do.
Being,
one literally working. Yeah, exactly.
And then the DOT from Darius.
He's just going on a very aggressive blood drive, Alex. He's here to help the nation of Noxus. You will give blood willingly or not.
I'm a little bit speechless. Not gonna lie. So I mean, maybe we could have like a first aid Vladimir. We could have like a paramedic Vladimir.
I would just want to say I really want a paramedic
Time
Vladimir.
for your donation, he says
great.
as he uses the hemo plate.
Yeah, and Nap potentially looking for a teleport. There is a big ward by that broken tier 1 turret. But the Hawks are going to back out way before that becomes a risk.
I have to say, though, every time these players are coming around, Honey has found himself over the crescendum on the Aphelios, and those turrets being put down have really zoned out a lot of the backline of CGA. So actually, props to Honey from using his weapons pretty well on the Aphelios thus far into this game.
All right, so there's an Ocean Drake coming up about 1:30. Gold lead is in the favor of CGA still, and apart from that, I've got to feel this game is very close. It's a Drake advantage to the Hawks and a slight gold advantage, about 2.5. No, so a gold advantage, not a slight one. It's a gold advantage to CGA, but with items kind of coming in, you've got the Hurricane and the Essence Reaver for this Aphelios. It's the Umbral Glaive and a fair amount of things like the Executioner's Calling in for Gango. Aria's picked himself up to 2 items. Vladimir's at 2 items. Like, this could be a pretty catastrophic next team fight.
It could be, but one of the things which is going to be acting in CGA's favor, partly because Senna has a fixed attack speed, doesn't need to go Berserker's Greaves, and Grendel is not being this traditional support and therefore can put extra income into stuff like the Deadman's Plate to buff up his move speed and instead of going for Swifties and Mobies. Every member at CGA has Merc Treads.
Yes.
5 Merc Treads across the board from CGA, which means that the Gravitum and stuff like the root from the Nautilus are just not going to be nearly as effective. Might help buy CGA some space in these team fights.
I actually also really appreciate the fact that Ramone has picked up the Morellonomicon versus the Silas and Senna. Actually, I think that could be quite useful in coming into this fight. A lot of cooldown in for the Cassiopeia and the Vladimir at this point as well with their Fiendish Codex.
Well, Kingslayer is just so disgusting.
So disgusting.
So disgusting.
Regicide being Silas's whole deal. Not surprised to see him on that. And on a ward is Aria, and that means that while this Drake is spotted, the Hawks are well aware. Though Gango's going to try his best to make sure that Tussle can get nowhere near this Drake. This time, Gango on the Senna putting out a lot of good damage.
Yep. And this time around, so last game we saw CGA fighting Sengoku in a similar kind of position where the mid turret was down. They did have a chance to get priority. They did manage to get the wave clear up into the mid lane in time. They managed to get a chunk out onto the enemy team instead of having the chunk onto Gango. They secured themselves their second dragon, going up to 2 apiece with an Ocean Drake featuring in both of those menagerie of elemental drakes.
Yep. And actually, that Severin with the Hurricane is pretty cool effect, pretty actually. Yeah. I like that.
The triple crescent slash thing.
I know. There's speaking of Wolverine earlier, that's some Wolverine action going on there.
Never gonna live that down. I just love that whole picture.
It's great. It's so much fun.
That's one of the classic memes.
I don't think Aria's feeling so bad anymore.
No,
his heart did in fact go on, and he came back and got a fairly decent couple of team fights.
He's definitely going towards like Pepe left now. He's definitely enjoying himself on the Silas there. Got up to level 16, so those...
we're really heading towards Twitch chat memes. Is that where we're at?
I mean,
this
we can do.
No.
We
can't.
There's a fifth...
I can't do this to myself.
There's a 5-level discrepancy between Aria and Tussle.
That is
huge.
Days, that's huge.
But what this also means is that he's going to get the 3rd rank of the ultimates that he steals.
Yep.
And he's going to have
3rd rank Hemoplague? Yes, please.
And he's going to have them on a really short cooldown. I think it gets down to every 10 seconds that he can steal a new ultimate. Obviously, it locks it out with the internal cooldown onto the individual champions. But if he gets a Nautilus ultimate into a Hemoplague into one fight, that's so huge.
Bro, I need to ask you. How does Hijack interact with the Aphelios ultimate? Does he just hijack whatever ult is kind of on for Honey at that point?
So it's we'll actually ignore that.
Double TP, the Observer is definitely aware, and with this, Baron Live could be at this point a bit of a risk. I don't care if Gango doesn't do it all that quickly. There's enough healing and tankiness on the side of CGA that if they do win a team fight, could absolutely be thrown through. Look at Tom Kench. He's got...
Yes, he does. Very tanky. Just quickly finishing off the point that we're making about Silas's ultimate. In terms of stealing the Aphelios ult, it works in the same way that it would do against LeBlanc. It is the one which they have available to them at the time that it is stolen. So it will be the primary weapon available to Aphelios as far as I am.
Yeah, and that could be pretty impactful, depending on which one he steals.
grab some root. He will get the slow from it, but he won't get the root. So it's more likely that he'll get something like the chakrams, which are pretty fun, or the caliber marks as well. I'm actually not sure how that works.
No,
with,
I don't
the
know
marks
either.
that they go in as well.
I would assume Infernum's probably not a bad one for Silas, a little less
very good.
complicated.
That's probably the best
so,
one. Probably the best one.
Would be my thought. I suppose Severin for the healing that Arya will already have would not be awful either. Let's have a look at where people are. Set and Silas back off to the side lanes. They are very strong at the minute, and I don't think there's many people who want to contest them right now. I suppose Vladimir's probably not in an awful spot for them with that Spellbinder. Zonya's Proto Belt complete. He is more than ready to go. Hasn't got a death cap yet, but with the fully stacked Spellbinder, he's ready for a fight. Ocean Drake number 3 will be coming up in under 2 minutes, and this will put a team to Soul point. It's not Ocean Soul because there's 2 Drakes apiece at the minute, but this could be a pretty important fight nonetheless.
Yeah, this is hopefully it's not as bad a movie as the third Sharknado as the third Ocean Drake. It'd be Ocean Drake 3.
Oh no! Oh hell no! Yeah, that's exactly.
This could really decide the game. It could put one team onto Soul Point. Well, some of these teams, I think either of these teams, if the position goes against them, will be willing to give it up. I don't think that it's not beneficial for them either way. Because if you're going against a team on Soul Point, you don't really have a choice about contesting for it. Because Ocean Drakes are just so strong with the.
I'm
gonna leave it at that.
No, I want to go back really briefly because there's a really fun about Shark. Fun fact of watching the LJL, this Japanese league, that Sharknado 1 has all these sort of like cuts to various storm
stock
scenes.
Footage of storm
and one of the stock footage of storm scene, you think it's in LA, no it's not. It's in a random park in Japan. You can tell because if you pause it and you read the map, it's all in katakana talking about this beautiful park, I think somewhere in Nagano. And it's like, okay, that's just not LA. This is just some random part of Japan they decided to throw in during a typhoon.
Maybe that's the
there was Sharknado maybe it was such a big Sharknado in Japan too.
Maybe. I was asked on one of my other casts about what. Oh, we see a massive Inferno coming out there from Honey, just chunking out Gango a little bit. Which champion? What's the next champion identity I'd like to see come out? Maybe I just want to see a shark now. I mean, we see Fizz, right?
What is Rek'Sai to you?
That's a land shark.
It's a shark.
There's
a pool party skin where she's literally a shark.
Kind of. It's a weird shark.
Shark Chariots, Legends of Runeterra style.
Sure, cool. I could go with that.
Anyway. Let's get back onto this, and we're going to see a bit of a fight. No, but Trundle gets that one. But Nap takes Terra on the top side, and that means Hawks are on Ocean Soul Point.
But it's
Yoshi
Terra on
couldn't
the top
get in there.
Yes. Yeah, Nap having a flawless game on, a deathless game so far on the set, and had some really good team fights on this set. He's managed to get into the backline. We saw that fight in the first 3 kills going the way of CGA. Him using the Showstopper actually as a taxi to get further into the team to get a lot of damage down. And then in the mid lane fight had some pretty big haymaker damage too coming across. We see a lot of posturing around the red buff of all things.
Yeah, this is all about getting control of this red side area. Baron is live. It's 30 minutes plus at this point, so both teams happy to think about another fight in the bot lane for the healing, but it's going to be Hemoplague versus Hemoplague, and I think Arya is actually winning out currently, but that's a good Dawning Shadow coming through, but the stopwatch was strong. Here comes Grendel, and it's not a 1v1 anymore. Dasher, you've got to realize this, my man. It's never a 1v1.
No, it is not. Grendel coming in just to pick up the assist there at the end of the day. One thing which is quite... Oh, he didn't actually get the assist, unfortunately. That's kind of sad. But one thing that is worth noting is that Tom Kench had a change a little while ago, which meant that his ultimate, it's lower range at the early ranks, but does increase pretty high amounts as you put more ranks into that ability. And then being the pseudo carry Tom Kench means that his ultimate at this point in the game at rank 2 is actually pretty long range.
With Dasher dead, CGA feel confident to start up this Baron. Arya is off to a side, pushing in the bot, has got a teleport available. It's actually going to back and look to come in behind. What are the Hawks going to be able to do? Worth noting out that Honey has got 3 items. He could do a lot of damage yet. Has got a Severin and Infernal. People are gathering together. Watch for that, but that's a good Cataclysm. It's kept Ramane up, but it's a decent Infernal, but it's only onto 2. And Nap slays Ramane, who doesn't even manage to get off the Petrifying Gaze. But Arya does and slays the Aphelios where he stands. It's a 3v5, and that's a lot of damage. Dasher now trying desperately to 1v5, and Arya's got a triple. Is he going to get the quadra? Yes, he does. That is so much damage, and this man in the mid lane is so damn good.
Outside of one oopsie in the early game, Aria is having an absolute clinic on this Silas. 8, 2, and 4 on the Demacian Mage, Regicide, Kingslayer, whatever title you want to give to him. He's going to push up the mid lane as the rest of his team. Takes the Baron. It's definitely the game in control for CGA here in this 4 and 5 matchup between the two tied third teams for the moment.
Oh, yeah, just
Fourth.
look at this. I thought Honey could do it. He had Infernum, he had 3 items. Maybe he could have done it, but look where Aria comes from.
So Ramone actually has a pretty decent start of this fight. And then you think with the Infernum, maybe they can start fighting into this choke point. But Aria is just too goddamn strong. He gets 2 ultimates off in... Well, he gets 1 ultimate off in this fight. And it's a big one. It's the Petrifying Gaze, which just shut down Honey there. Dasher manages to get into this fight after he respawns from that earlier 1v1 before the Baron was even started off. But it's Dasher versus the World, and the World was much too strong this time around. And does go down for the 4th kill of that fight to Aria.
Yeah, and it's the Noxian nobility falling to the aristocrat slayer for the people, by the people. Silas picks up all the kills there.
Yes, he does. He was in a pretty strong point. And actually, this Vladimir is still in a really strong position. It's just that if you're only going to be wailing onto, you know, the level 18, 4.5 item Silas, he does have ways to start regenning up with the Conqueror and with his Kingslayer as well. Does have the 40% CDR between his Ludens, the Protobelt, and the Zonya. So he's going to have that up even at max, well, and at max rank on that ability too. So very short cooldown on the Kingslayer.
Yeah, and the Ocean Drake will be coming up in a minute. This would be Ocean Soul for Hawks. Might allow them to turn their fortunes around if they can pick it up. But until that point, there is a Baron up for another 1.5 minutes for CGA, and they're going to keep pushing. Like, there's just also this problem, right? Like, how on earth do the immobile kind of carries of Honey, of Ramone, Dasher to a lesser extent, just kind of avoid the Cataclysm that we kind of called out earlier in the game, and also, like, bluntly, the Abduct, that second half of the E for Silas, that's got all that. I think it's like a... Is it a 90% AP scaling?
AP
It's a massive AP scaling, and especially with Silas already at 4 items, looking towards a death cap last. He is so strong. Level 18 at this point in the game as well.
Oh, I mentioned both of those things.
Oh, did you? I missed that.
Maybe cool.
I was too busy checking out things like items. I missed that. That's good.
Well, yes.
That's a D-synergy there.
Yes, indeed. Gango actually taking pretty much all of his HP in the Infernum there. That was actually the Infernus nerf on the ultimate range, saving his life there. Went from 1600 range down to 1300, and Gango is very, very happy for that change.
Just a quick point on items that I was trying to wait and see when it came in. Death cap now complete for Vladimir, and that is a big deal. The double needlessly large rod items are there, but CGA are going to start up this Ocean Drake, prevent Hawks from getting the soul, and it'll be soul point for both teams now.
Yes, it will, and more importantly, it just delays the win condition for the Hawks in particular. I think their one way into this game would be to get the Ocean Soul and then try and stall out for an Elder as well. The late Elder spawn in this game will probably mean that Hawks are going to have to take another big team fight, or 2 even, before they even consider taking that objective, because another Baron will probably be up by the time that comes up as well, as it's just falling off CGA as we speak.
I feel like I just want to point out that Grendel is now 3 levels up on Pooh and has 3.5 tank items. This Tahm Kench is like impossible to get through.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we had criticized Grendel in the last couple of weeks for being a bit too easy to kill. You know, he'd had a couple of iffy deaths. And when you are kind of on this super tanky support, I mean, as much as Nautilus is very tanky as supports go, but it's not quite the same as funneling him actual tank items. He's had a very admirable game. We saw him in that team fight in the mid lane, which went 3 for 3. He bought so much time, taking all of the damage, even alongside having a stopwatch as well. He's been having a good frontline performance.
He's out-leveled his own jungler, which is a bit sad. That makes me a bit miserable as a jungle main, but there we go.
Well, he's also 3 levels up over the opposing support.
Oh, well, yeah. And, Gango's, it's not her Gango's experience either. That guy's at 17. He's doing pretty happy as well.
CGA have been doing a really good job of soaking waves. We see a huge amount of gold onto Silas in the mid lane. 18,000. That's literally loading into practice practice tool.
Just clicking on that gold
clicking on the items, clicking on the levels, clicking on the gold income, and just like buying everything you could possibly think of, and then practicing all the combos on the practice dummies, which unfortunately are the Hawks at this point in the game because of Arya's massive strength.
And what a hat Arya has picked up as well. Death cap available for this Silas. So with that looks like a elixir of sorcery running as well. This guy could run over. They've got the Graviton up. They're looking to go in, but Arya's into the backline now. He's picked up another Hemoblade. Honey's in the backline, has not got the ultimate available. He's free firing as well. Can he do enough damage? The Dawning Shadow is massive through the Cataclysm. Dasher comes in, trying his best in the backline, and Honey actually is potentially turning this around. Ramonate is still alive, but look at the double kill for the Silas. He's flashed in the backline. The Honey just disappears, and that is the game. We thought it was a turnaround, but no.
Valiant attempt from the Hawks there. Dasher once again finding his way into the backline, but it's a little too little at this point in the game when you've got an 11-2-6 Silas finishing out this game for CGA, bringing them into a 1-1 week and third in the standings for the LJL. Nexus falls at 39 minutes into the game, and as we only have 2 games today, this will be our post-week segment for our unofficial cast of the LJL. Mass Swan, what did you think of that?
Well, that went kind of wibbly-wobbly, very confusing halfway through that. I was not expecting Crest to win in such decisive fashion. That last team fight did feel very one-sided. While it looked like the Hawks had a good chance there, the thing is, when they actually ended up focusing Honey, he was gone in like almost what felt like 2 game ticks. Like, it was so much damage that just came out.
Yeah, it was a flash abduct from the Silas. Just meant that like that one hit deleted Honey. It was utterly disgusting.
And can I just say how nice it is to see Arya back to winning ways again? Because when this team wins with CGA, Arya just looks so good. Yeah, I'm a mid lane main myself, so there's a little bit of bias there. But just seeing all the playmakers coming out at the highest level of play in League of Legends, it's really fun to see. This guy, like, I mean, as much as Dasher had a valiant attempt, like I said in the cast there, to try and turn around some of those team fights, Arya was effectively performing the same role that the Vladimir was with the stolen Hemoplague, and then just kind of doing it better because he'd found such advantages in that game. So there wasn't too much that the backline of the Hawks could do.
And like that last fight particularly, like it looked pretty good. The backline was alive. Honey and Ramonate were looking like they were going to get some damage, and then Arya gets into the backline out of nowhere, deletes both of them, dashes kind of all by himself, gets shut down. Like eventually that Silas was just too much to handle.
And, well, congratulations to Crest. They are now in 3rd place. Let's do a very quick rundown of the current standings. In first place, excuse me, in first place for 9-1, we have Detonation Focus Me. In 2nd place, we have Sengoku Gaming for 6-4. In 3rd place, we have Crest Gaming Act at 5-5. And a 5-team, that's right, 5-team tie for 4th place.
Oh, yes.
We have Axis at 4-6, Burning Core at 4-6, Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming at 4-6, Rascal Jester at 4-6, and V3 Esports at 4-6. Notable things from this: Burning Core on a 3-loss streak, Axis are on a 2-win streak, the Fukuoka Hawks are on the 2-loss streak. Everybody else is kind of just doing a 1-1 thing at the moment. What the devil is going on in the LJL? It's like everyone wants to be best friends. Literally, playoffs are decided in these next 4 games for each of these teams.
Well, in the next 2 days.
Yeah,
even,
that's
right?
important context, right? Week 6 and Week 7 are happening tomorrow and Sunday. We have 8 games tomorrow. We have 8 games Sunday. And these teams are like, so as kind of context, Week 5 finished last Sunday. So they've had a week to sort out, less than a week, 6 days to sort out everything.
Yep.
All the marbles. This is how you get into playoffs or not, is in a week. That's what you've got. You've got to be ready for 4 games next Saturday, another 4 games on Sunday, and this could decide everything.
And my takeaways from that are, so in week 6, so tomorrow, DFM play against CGA and the SoftBank Hawks. We saw Sengoku take a game off them. The first time we've seen them be able to lose a game, right?
True.
So now going in with all that was Crest being at 5-5, the Hawks being at 4-6. Now these teams are thinking, actually, maybe it's not impossible to take a game off the off DFM. And then we've got all of these other teams wondering, they're just like, well, at least we don't have to play DFM today, right? And then try and pick up their own 1-1 2-2 weeks.
I think another team I want to really hop on is our princess story, our underdog story. It is Axis. They are going to have arguably the hardest run in these last 4 games for them. They're first against Sengoku, then Burning Core, then DFM, then Crest to end it out. If they can go probably 1-1 in both those weeks, I think they're safe for playoffs. Because
and on a similar line, after V3 won earlier this week, they won with with Boogie going back to their winning ways.
They did.
They are playing against Rascal Jester, who are only on a 1-win streak. They've had a rough couple of weeks.
They have.
Although they have managed to bring themselves up into this pack, as we have said, so they are deservedly in this 4th berth.
But remember, V3 and Rascal Jester did the least amount of climbing to get to this point.
Exactly, right? But then they're also against Burning Core. They're on a 3-loss streak. There is a chance that they go 2-0 this week and actually get themselves into playoffs. When at a point where even last week we were writing them off.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
And I also want to bring up a thing like, yes, Sengoku Gaming took a game off DFM. How likely is it that we see that again?
True.
Is that what's going to give Sengoku Gaming their playoff berth? Is that one kind of fluke win off over DFN that the others don't get? Is that could be huge? That could have decided everything for Sengoku.
I almost think, if my math is right, Sengoku are also now a lock for playoffs. 2 wins above, anyone can tie them. People can tie them going into week 6. It means week 7, they, even with 2 more losses, with 4 losses, they'd be pushed to 6 and 8, which I think is still safe for playoffs.
They're almost certainly going to be in playoffs when, So in their week 7, they're against Rascal Jester and Burning Core, both teams which have been struggling. I wouldn't say that they are very content with their position right now. They will need to shore up themselves going into these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, one more win I think locks them.
Particularly going into weeks, I think, so they're against the Hawks, they're against Axis, they're against Rascal Jester, and against Burning Core. All of these games are ones which they should be aiming to win and have a good chance of winning, given that they are on a 4-game win streak, 2 2-0s in a row, particularly, and also taking a game off of DFM. These last 2 games that we've covered as well, they've looked much more clean. They look like they understand their win conditions, they know how to play around neutral objectives. I mean, I get to toot my own horn and say, hey, I mean, I predicted these guys to win the spring split coming into it. Obviously, it's taken a bit of a hit after DFN came in so strong, but they are definitely coming into themselves a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I also want to iterate on that point that yes, they're winning. Yes, they're looking cleaner in the early game, particularly their objective focus is good. They're not winning that fast still. They are still like in their first game of this week, they needed 2. They took 2 Barons and 2 Elder Drakes with the Infernal Soul still. Like that's still a fair amount of time to clean up. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool. So, and well, with that in mind, that's going to close us out for the end of week 5 of the LJL. On Saturday we will be going live to cover 4 games for week 6. And those games are gonna be, if I had it in front of me, I did a moment ago and now I don't, so I'm just stalling for time. I believe it starts with DFM. It does start with DFM versus Crest Gaming Act. Then we'll have another Detonation Focus Me facing off against the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. After that one, we'll then see Sengoku face off against the Hawk. And then to round it out for us over here on the unofficial stream, we will have Crest facing off against Rascal Jester. So we're going to see all the Hawks games, Detonation Focus Me games, and Crest's games, which is just like such an interesting deciding factor because a lot of these games will end up deciding a lot of how the table's going to really go out for the rest of it.
I think the luxury we have now, and particularly in terms of a drawing factor for people to come watch, is that every game does matter, and they will really be high. There'll be high tension matches. Hopefully, a lot of plays being made. Hopefully, not so many like random silos plays where like the chain. It's those times where you wish the skill shot hadn't connected, and sad flute stuff.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
This is the tightest the race for playoffs in the LJL has ever been, and this is even with an expanded playoffs bracket. like it is this close. Imagine if it was last year where there were only 3 teams who could get into playoffs. This would be nail biting for anybody on 4 wins.
Yes,
and it's still nail biting for anybody on 4 wins. Like in space of 2 days, you have got to prove yourself worthy of being in playoffs. And I'm not sure I could definitively say who's safe and who's not at this point.
Not DFM.
Well, outside of the FM. Sorry, I thought that was a given.
Yeah, no
for
one's...
for 7 teams, they are all got the potential of not making playoffs yet.
Yeah, it's kind of a very surreal world that we're currently living in to see that even Sengoku aren't 100% a lock. They need to get one win to lock themselves into that playoff spot. But thank you so much for watching. I have been Alex, otherwise known as Lexi. I've been your host doing that thing. I go by Master on the end. I've, of course, been joined by Alex Hapgood, our color commentator, and Sam Hapgood, our play-by-play commentator. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.